And as I told them, and I'll just repeat to you, we have a couple folks who are learned people here who have titles. Me, I'm just a guy, but they have real titles. But I refer to everyone by their first name, so everyone's treated on the same basis. But joining us this evening, starting from left, going to the right, is Joe Hoffman. He's pastor of the First Congregational United Church of Christ. You can applaud. Ashley Arrington, she's a board member for the Campaign for Southern Equality. John Grant, he's a pastor at Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. And Ken Klukowski, he's a faculty member at Liberty University School of Law, and he's with the Family Research Center. And one final point, I would ask, you may not agree with what some of the panel members say. I would ask that you show them respect and courtesy. And I'm okay with responses, whether you applaud or whatever, but allow them to at least have their chance to say something without being shouted down and interrupted. It takes a special person who's willing to come out and stand in front of a big audience of people knowing that some of them aren't going to agree with them. So I hope you appreciate that they're doing a great public service, because a lot of people wouldn't do what they do. So we're very thankful that they're willing to do this. I hope you appreciate that as well, even if you disagree with them. So I'm glad they're here. I think we're going to have a spirited and passionate discussion. I suspect people will leave here. Some will be happy, some may not be so happy. That's the nature of a town hall event. So we're only probably about 3 minutes out, but any other quick questions before we get started? Yes? So there were name tags. I think that it's probably a TV technical thing, they tell me. We took the name tags down. It was interfering with the lower third? Right. Okay. It's actually, it's for our TV broadcast. It was just creating a bit of interference the way we do things. So I'll help you out. It's Joe, Ashley, John, and Ken. Look, you only have 4 names to memorize. They have to remember all of your names. They got a lot of work to do here. Any other questions? Yes?
When you do call on us, what do you want us to say as well?
Good question. So when I call him, what I'm going to do is basically to support our
Giving
camera.
you a mic check.
I will pull you towards me.
Man,
We're
I
going
should have
to
brought
stand
some
somewhere
water.
up here. I'm going to ask you to state your name, where you're from, and then ask you what your question is. You want to give a first and last name or just a first name? That's fine. We just kind of want to know. No, just went out about 30 seconds ago. I had program like 30 seconds ago. All right, so we're 1 minute out. Okay, I hear music. Nothing. I can hear Brian.
Mark can hear Brian. Garcelle, do you hear Brian?
Yeah, Brian, I can hear you.
No?
Brian, you hear me?
Got Mark.
Okay.
No, she doesn't hear anything. Really, I don't think it's gonna be fine. I mean,
Gay marriage.
I just feel as if everyone should have the right to marry whoever they love, whether it be man, woman.
One of the most polarizing issues of our time.
That is something that is immoral and is not in the best interests of our culture.
The debate, igniting passion from people across Western North Carolina.
It's not about being in the LGBT community. It's more about equal opportunities.
And the nation.
God ordained marriage, God determined that marriage was between one man and one woman.
Unfortunately, today I am not able to issue your marriage license.
The battle being fought in city halls
This is heartbreaking because we've been together more than 7 years.
and state legislatures.
It's not a right that they have. God designed marriage. One man, one woman, that's it.
Has reached our country's highest court.
Literally in the midst of history right now. This is a critical time in our country around LGBT equality.
And we're just hours from what could be a turning point.
We should not allow the federal judiciary to destroy the vote of the people, especially on something as old and good as marriage.
Tonight, a News 13 town hall event, an open discussion about marriage. It's your voice, your future. Marriage, an institution of human culture for thousands of years, but in recent decades, people in America and around the world for that matter have battled over the definition of marriage. Should marriage be between one man and one woman only? Or should two people of the same sex be allowed to marry also? The debate is divisive and people are passionate. Right now, these 12 states, along with the District of Columbia, allow same-sex couples to marry. Same-sex marriage is banned in 36 other states, including North and South Carolina. But all eyes are on California's gay marriage ban, Proposition 8. The Supreme Court is expected to rule as early as tomorrow on the constitutionality of Prop 8. The court will also rule on the Defense of Marriage Act, which denies federal benefits to legally married gays and lesbians. Whatever the justices decide, their rulings could have lasting, far-reaching implications. So tonight, we want to help you better understand this issue, what's behind the divisiveness and what's at stake. Let's go to our moderator, Mark Hyman, live at the Western North Carolina Ag Center with tonight's Town Hall, Your Voice, Your Future. Mark.
Good evening and welcome to the WNC Ag Center. I'm Mark Hyman, host of Behind the Headlines and the moderator of the Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall series. Tonight's topic, same-sex marriage. It's emotional, it's controversial, it's personal. We have a packed audience here who's anxious to get started. They have a lot of questions they want to put towards our panel members tonight. But those of you watching at home can also join us. News 13 anchor Darcel Grimes is going to explain to you how you can participate tonight. She's manning our digital desk. Darcel?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, our viewers, for joining us for what we believe will be an informative and interesting evening. Our panel members are eager to get started. Members of our studio audience are eager with their comments and their questions, and I hope that you are eager to give us yours too. I will be manning our digital desk. I will be following your comments on Facebook. I will be following your tweets. I will be taking your questions. If you want to be a part of this discussion, if you have something you want to say, you can do it. It's simple. It's easy. All you have to do is go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/news13. You can post your comments there or go to Twitter, hashtag WLOS Town Hall, and put your comments there. If you have a question, send it my way. I promise you, I'll do my best to try to get your question to members of our audience, our panel, and to Mark. So join all of us in making this a memorable town hall. Right now, I am going to glue my eyes to that computer and take your feedback. Mark?
Thanks, Darcel. Now, I mentioned a moment ago, we've got a packed audience, anxious to get started. They can put some questions forward to our panel of experts. And we've assembled a terrific panel of experts who are going to debate the issue and answer as many questions as possible. So let's go ahead and meet them. Joining us tonight is Joe Hoffman. He's a pastor at the First Congressional United Church of Christ. Ashley Arrington, she's a board member for the Campaign for Southern Equality. John Grant, he's pastor at Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. And Ken Klukowski, he's a faculty member at Liberty University School of Law, and he's also with the Family Research Center. I'd like to emphasize that more information on our panel members can be found on our website at WLOS.com, and they are here in their personal capacities. The views they represent are their own unless they tell us otherwise. Now, I want to start the evening off by putting a question not to our panel, but to you, the audience here. I'm going to ask you to respond by the sound of applause. Your choices and answers are civil rights issue, religious issue, or both. So the first question, is the issue of same-sex marriage a civil rights issue? If you believe yes, please clap. If you believe it's a religious issue, please clap. And if you believe it's both, please clap. I'm going to put the same question to our panel members. So by a show of hands, is this a civil rights issue? Please raise your hand. Is this a religious issue? Please raise your hand. Is this both? Okay, so we've got actually a difference between our panel and our audience, because the panel predominantly sees it as both. I'm going to get to our first audience member question. Ursula, please join me. I had a chance to meet Ursula before the event began, and she is our first member of the audience who's going to ask a question of our panel member. Please tell us your name, where you're from, and ask your question.
Ursula Crawford, Arden, and my question is, since for those states that have passed gay marriage laws, such as New York, in 2012, New York garnered an extra $220 million in fees that went to the state coffers. Washington State, an additional $33 million. How do we ignore the economic stimulus, if you will, that the passage of gay marriage brings to the states?
Joe, what about the financial benefit to the local government?
I think there definitely is a financial benefit, and I think that's one of the benefits of being open to all people being able to be married and having the same rights. I think it does help the community.
John, is the financial aspect important, or do you disagree?
I think there are a number of issues that may be financially beneficial, but are they in the best interest and for the welfare of our community?
And Ashley, your thoughts on this quickly.
I think we're seeing more and more data come in. I don't think we have a full, complex look at what is beneficial and what's not. Currently, as far as on the front line of it, absolutely, there's an economic value to it that has to be addressed.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm looking for my audience member questions. I know a lot of people are ready to go. Who's ready to go next? Come on over here. Please join me. You know, all you people had your hands up earlier. I know you're ready to go tonight. Please tell us who you are, where you're from, and ask your question.
My name is Gail Harding. I'm from Candler. And my question is, what is the definition of marriage?
Ken, what's the definition of marriage?
Well, legally, the definition of marriage is the relationship that society establishes, recognizing the reality that children are created by sexual union of one man and one woman, and it's create a stabilizing institution to care for any children that result from the union of that sexuality.
Ashley, do you agree with that?
To a certain extent, I do agree with that. I think that's a pretty black and white statement of saying that there's a lot of single parents that don't fit that definition. I just don't think you can kind of encapsulate it that way. I think that marriage is based on a societal term, it's based on a religious term, and different religions have different ways of defining it.
Thank you. I'm going to actually have a question I'm going to get started on, because I have in my pocket my Constitution, which I refer to every once in a while. I can't find anything in this Constitution about gay marriage or straight marriage or marriage at all. There's nothing in here about marriage. So, John, does the government even have a role? The Constitution doesn't say anything about it.
Well, I think the government has a role in regulating anything that affects the welfare of our community.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, first of all, I think we need to realize that the definition of marriage has changed a lot over the years. And what we consider now modern marriage didn't really come about until the 1850s, and then really in the 1920s is when it became what we think of it today. I think we now know that the definition of marriage around having children is no longer it's not a valid reason to say that to be married you have to be able to have children. That simply is not a part of what our society is anymore. So the definition changes, and I think the government does have a role in terms of making sure that groups of people do not get discriminated against according to how states make their laws.